welcome to a time-lapse video. As you can see, I've already done the background and allowed it to dry. I'm going straight in with the background colour for the eye. I'm dropping in some lovely gold colours and browns, letting it sort of merge, and then I'm literally going to just leave that to dry. Now I'm going in with some nice rich colours on my brush, very wet paper, wet in wet, lots of water on my brush. I'm dropping in some lovely blues and dark greys for the ears. So I'm going to fill them in, and then I'm going to just literally leave them to dry. I'm not going to mess with them too much. Then I'm moving on to the nice brown tones of the fur. I'm going to start with a rather light cover, and then I'm going to just build my way up, because you can always add, but it's quite hard to take away with watercolour. So I'm just building up some nice layers and then starting to look at the detail of the fur. So with quite a large brush, I'm just starting now to build up those layers. I'm looking at my reference photograph of a hare, and I'm just putting in some nice, not too dark layers, and then starting to look at the movement of the fur, paying attention to where I want to keep things quite light. You can see I've left that nice white area at the front of his chest. I'm going to leave that because I want the painting to breathe a little bit. It's really important to start to pay attention to the light and the dark. So I'm just putting tiny little details in to suggest the movement of the fur, and then focusing on some of the shadows around his eye. Now I'm always scared of doing eyes because it's so easy for them to go wrong. So I'm being a bit tentative, and I'm working my way all around the painting and letting this dry, going away, doing tiny little bits around the mouth, then coming back to the eye again. It's allowing it to dry. You've got to remember this is a time lapse, which has been really sped up from the original time it took me to paint it. So you do have to be quite patient in letting these areas dry. Now you can see that I've removed that with a bit of tissue. I wasn't happy with it, and I've let it dry, and now I'm blending again. And now I've got it where I want those little details around the eye. So I'm leaving it to dry. I'm working on the ears, just looking at tiny little more details here and there and building in those details, and then I'm going to come back to the eye. So I'm working on just a few little flecks here and there, a bit more detail, a few more little details, not too much though, and then a nice little delicious little slice of dark just behind his ear, which is really going to make the one in front of it stand out a little bit more. Tiny bit more detail here and there where I'm looking at shadows. It's hard to know when to stop. This was one of the paintings where I was really pleased with the little characters that came out. And I think it's because I really took my time with this one. I let things dry. I kind of stopped myself quite a lot from overworking certain areas and let other areas breathe, as I like to say. So I'm going in just tiny little detail marks here. Now I'm using a little bit of white paint just to highlight the edge of the hare's ears, because they always have this little white fluffy tufty bit and that makes it pop out a little bit. Now here we go, we're going in with the eye, just working my way around with little shadows and paying attention to where those darker bits are, and just hoping and praying for the best really when it comes to the eye. A little bit more detail on the bottom, and taking my time to allow that centerpiece to dry before I even think about going in and putting a highlight for the reflection, because that's the bit where we really want it to go right. So adding little white fluff to his fur. He's coming together, you see. Now just waiting till it's completely dry. So I'm dotting around, putting other little details in, and he's really coming to life. Look, all these lovely little flicks, and it's so much work and lots of little movements and decisions, but it's really paying off. It's coming to life, and that fur is looking more lifelike, but without it looking, you know, too perfect, because that's not the kind of painting we're looking for. So there we go, we've got our reflection in. We're adding a little bit more detail with a pen. I can link what type of pen this is down below, and he's really looking about done now. And then I'm going to start moving on to his little companion, the robin. A huge fan of robins, absolutely love them. So I'm going to take my time and just put little brown details in to get the shadows of his feathers and the darker colours first. I tend to leave the red chest until later, because then you can see what kind of tone you need, so that it's all going to blend quite nicely. So I'm going in with like a light orange, and then I'm starting to put darker tones in. Now, I haven't really, we always say Robin Redbreast, but I haven't really used red here. I've used some really deep, nice oranges, and it's worked really well, and it suits the reference photo that I'm looking at of my robin. And what I really want here is the hare to really look like he's looking at the robin, and that they're having this little conversation. So putting tiny little details in, adding a little branch. I've got the little feet in there. Again, letting it dry, adding tiny little details, trying not to overwork, but giving just enough so you can see the feathers and the little details. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that.